Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare wheat penny coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins ever struck by the United States Mint, the legendary 1944 South Lincoln Wheat Center made of steel. Yes, you heard that right, a steel penny from 1944. This little coin has a story so incredible that every collector dreams of finding one. Now listen carefully, because what you're about to hear might just make you check every old penny in your collection. The year was 1944. World War II was still raging, and the US Mint had just gone through one of its most unusual coinage experiments in history. In 1943, to save copper for war equipment and ammunition, the Mint struck pennies in zinc-coated steel instead of bronze. But when 1944 came, they returned to the traditional bronze composition, however, and here's where the magic begins. A few leftover steel planchets from 1943 accidentally found their way into the presses at the San Francisco Mint. Those few coins became the 1944 steel wheat cents, one of the rarest US coins ever made. Only a couple of genuine examples have ever been confirmed to exist. Just imagine, hundreds of millions of 1944 pennies were struck, yet only two of these rare steel versions are known today. Now what makes this coin so special? It's not only the story behind it but also the stunning contrast of its silvery steel color when compared to the usual reddish bronze wheat cents of that year. It's a true anomaly, an accidental survivor from the wartime minting chaos. When collectors talk about Holy Grail pennies, this is one of them. Let's talk about how you can identify one. The genuine 1944 South Steel Center is magnetic because of its steel core. It weighs around 2.7 grams, slightly lighter than the normal bronze penny, which weighs about 3.11 grams. If your 1944's penny is not magnetic, it's not steel, plain and simple. Be cautious, because many fake versions are just ordinary copper cents that have been plated to look silvery. Real 1944's steel cents should have the correct weight, color, and magnetic properties, and they must be authenticated by a professional grading service. Collectors love this coin because it represents a perfect blend of history, rarity, and mystery. It's not just a coin, it's a piece of wartime America, a glimpse into an era when every ounce of metal mattered. The steel penny reminds us of how even small mistakes at the mint can turn into treasures worth a fortune decades later. That's the magic of coin collecting, turning history into something you can actually hold in your hand. But here's where it gets really exciting: the value. The regular 1944's bronze wheat penny is very common and worth only a few cents in circulated condition. But the 1944's steel version? That's a completely different story. Because of its extreme rarity, it has become one of the most sought-after coins in the world. In top condition, one of these incredible steel cents has sold at auction for around $400,000. Yes, you heard correctly, $400,000 for a single penny. Even if one were found in lower grade, it would still be worth tens of thousands of dollars. So next time you're sorting through your old change jar or a coin collection passed down from your grandparents, take a closer look at every 1944's wheat penny. You never know, that tiny gray-colored cent could be the key to an unbelievable discovery. One small coin, one massive story, and possibly one life-changing find, and that's the magic of the 1944 South Steel Lincoln Wheat Center, a coin born out of war, minted by mistake, and now cherished by collectors as one of the rarest treasures in American numismatic history. Top 2, we are going to explore one of the most beautiful and beloved classic coins from the United States of America, the 1956 Lincoln Wheat Cent. At first glance, it might seem like an ordinary penny, but this small coin holds a lot more history, value, and excitement than you might imagine. So coin lovers, listen carefully, because today we're uncovering the secrets, errors, and hidden treasures of the 1956 wheat penny, a coin that might just surprise you with its true worth. The 1956 wheat penny is a part of the famous Lincoln Wheat Cent series, which was first introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. By 1956, the wheat cent had already become an American classic, a small piece of history that millions carried in their pockets every day. Struck in 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, the 1956 penny carries that familiar reddish-brown tone that collectors love so much. But behind that simple look lies a story that every collector should know. Let's talk numbers first. In 1956, the U.S. Mint produced more than 1 billion Lincoln cents across two minting facilities, Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, marked with a small d under the date. That means there are plenty of 1956 and 1956 D pennies floating around. So, you might be wondering, how could a coin minted in such huge numbers possibly be worth big money? Well, this is where the magic of minting errors and condition rarity comes in. You see, not every coin that leaves the mint is perfect. Some coins are struck with double dies, off-center impressions, die cracks, or repunched mint marks, and these small mistakes can turn a 1-cent coin into a collector's dream. The 1956 D wheat cent, in particular, is famous for its repunched mint mark, RPM, error, where the letter D was punched more than once into the die, creating a shadow-like doubling effect. Collectors go wild for this kind of minting flaw because it's like a signature of imperfection, a piece of history that should not exist, yet somehow does. Another fascinating variety is the double die error, where parts of the coin's design, like the date, lettering, or Lincoln's face, appear slightly doubled due to a misalignment during the minting process. While not every 1956 cent has this issue, finding one in sharp condition can be extremely rewarding. Then there are the BIE die breaks, a small raised line between the letters B and E in the word liberty. These might sound small, but collectors absolutely love discovering them. Every tiny error tells its own unique story. Now let's talk about condition, one of the biggest factors that determine a coin's value. Most 1956 wheat pennies you'll find in circulation today are worn from years of use, worth only a few cents. But high-grade examples, especially those that have never been used, called mint state coins, can be worth far more. Collectors pay big money for coins with their original luster, sharp details, and bright reddish shine, the kind that looks almost brand new even after more than 60 years, and if you think finding one in perfect shape is easy, think again. Out of the billions minted, only a small number have survived without scratches, discoloration, or wear. These high-grade survivors are the true gems in any collection. So what is the real market price of a 1956 wheat cent today? Common circulated coins are worth around 1 to 5 cents, just face value. But uncirculated examples, especially those graded above MS-65, can easily sell for $10 to $20. And when it comes to rare error coins, the story changes completely. A strong double die or repunched mint mark variety can bring anywhere from $100 to several $100s depending on condition. The most stunning, pristine examples, those certified by top grading companies, have sold in auctions for prices reaching up to $2,000 in words, $2,000 for a single penny. That's right, a coin most people overlook could be worth hundreds or even thousands of times its face value if it carries the right error or grade. That's the thrill of coin collecting. You never know what treasure you might be holding until you take a closer look. Top 3, we are talking about one of the most beautiful and historic coins ever minted by the United States, the 1940 Lincoln wheat cent. This classic copper penny might look simple at first glance, but for coin collectors and history lovers, it tells a powerful story from a time when America was just emerging from the Great Depression and standing on the edge of World War II. So listen carefully and enjoy, because today we'll explore what makes the 1940 Lincoln cent so fascinating, the rare errors that make it valuable, and how much these coins are really worth in today's market. The Lincoln wheat cent, designed by Victor David Brenner, features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and 2 stalks of wheat on the reverse, symbols of America's strength, growth, and prosperity. The 1940 issue marked over 3 decades of this classic design and was produced in huge numbers across 3 mints, Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, marked with a D, and San Francisco, marked with an S. Now, you might be thinking, if millions of these coins were made, what makes the 1940 wheat penny so special? The secret lies in its history, condition, and the rare minting errors that turn an ordinary cent into a collector's prize. In 1940, over 500 million Lincoln cents were struck, most from the Philadelphia Mint. But even with those high numbers, not every coin came out perfect. Back then, the minting process wasn't as precise as today. Dies wore down faster, and sometimes they were misaligned or reused incorrectly, creating unique varieties that collectors chase after even now. One of the most popular and valuable errors from this year is the double die. On these coins, the details like the date, the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" appear slightly doubled because of a die that shifted during the engraving process. A strong double die from 1940 can easily multiply a coin's value many times over. Another exciting variety is the repunched mint mark, RPM, found on 1940D and 1940S pennies, where the mint mark was hand-punched twice, leaving a clear shadow or doubling effect. These small details are what make certain coins stand out from the crowd. Collectors also look for off-center strikes, die cracks, and lamination errors, all of which can increase the value significantly. Each of these minting mistakes tells a small story about how coins were made in the early 20th century, and every flaw becomes a signature of authenticity and history. Now, condition plays a huge role in determining value. Most 1940 wheat cents found in change today are brown, worn, and worth only a few cents. But if you happen to find one with its original bright red luster, crisp details, and know what collectors call mint state condition, the price goes up quickly. Coins graded MS65 or higher by professional grading services are especially desirable, as they show off that fiery copper glow that collectors love. The 1940D and 1940S issues can also be valuable in higher grades, especially if they have striking mint errors or beautiful toning. For collectors, finding one in near-perfect shape feels like traveling back to the early 1940s, holding a tiny piece of history that somehow escaped decades of circulation. And here's a fascinating fact: 1940 was one of the last peaceful years before the US entered World War II. Many collectors see these pennies as symbolic of that turning point in American history, a simple copper coin that witnessed an era of change, challenge, and resilience. So, how much is a 1940 Lincoln wheat cent worth today? In circulated condition, most examples are worth between 1 cent and 50 cents. Uncirculated pieces with beautiful red luster can bring anywhere from $5 to $20 depending on the grade. But when you step into the world of rare errors and high-end collector pieces, the numbers rise fast. A strong double die or repunched mint mark in mint condition can easily sell for several $100s. Top 4, we are talking about one of the most interesting and historical coins from the United States, the 1942 Lincoln wheat cent. This little copper penny isn't just a piece of change, it's a piece of American history that carries the story of a nation standing on the edge of World War II. So coin lovers, listen carefully and enjoy this journey, because the 1942 wheat penny hides rare errors and surprises that make it worth much more than 1 cent. The Lincoln wheat cent was designed by Victor David Brenner and first released in 1909. By 1942, it had already become an American classic. The coin features President Abraham Lincoln on the front and 2 wheat stalks on the back, symbolizing growth and strength. Struck in 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, the 1942 penny was one of the last made in copper before the famous 1943 steel cent was introduced to save metal for the war. That fact alone makes the 1942 penny special. It marks the end of an era in U.S. coinage. In 1942, the U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents across 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, with a D, and San Francisco, with an S. Most of these coins are common, but the real excitement comes from the small number that left the mint with unique errors and variations. One of the most sought-after varieties from this year is the double die error, where parts of the design appear doubled, especially on the date and lettering like "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." These errors happened when the die used to strike the coins was misaligned, and they can make your penny worth a lot more than face value. Another valuable mistake is the repunched mint mark, found on some 1942D and 1942S coins. This happens when the mint mark was stamped twice by hand, leaving a visible shadow of the D or S. These coins are not extremely rare, but collectors love them because they tell a story of how coins were made before machines took over the process. There are also off-center strikes, die cracks, and lamination errors, all small minting flaws that can increase a coin's value depending on how dramatic they are. Some rare 1942 pennies were even struck on the wrong metal planchets, such as blanks meant for foreign coins. Those are the real treasures that can reach thousands of dollars. Condition also plays a huge role in value. Most 1942 pennies found today are brown and worn, worth only a few cents. But coins that have never been used, called uncirculated or mint state, can be worth much more. Collectors especially love bright red examples, which still shine as if they were freshly minted more than 80 years ago. Now let's talk about what everyone wants to know: the value. A typical circulated 1942 Lincoln wheat cent is worth between 1 and 5 cents. In uncirculated condition, with strong red color, values can range from $10 to $20. But rare varieties and high-grade examples tell a different story. A strong double die or repunched mint mark can bring hundreds of dollars, and a top-graded 1942 penny in near-perfect condition has sold at auction for around $15,000, in words, $15,000. Top 5, and last rare coin, we're diving into one of America's classic treasures, the 1936 Lincoln Wheat Penny, the 1-cent coin that hides secrets of history, rarity, and real-world value. From its copper shine to its surprising errors, this coin is more than just pocket change. It's a tiny piece of the Great Depression era. Back in 1936, the U.S. Mint struck hundreds of millions of these pennies, mainly in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia coins have no mint mark, Denver coins carry a small D, and San Francisco coins show an S. While most were ordinary coins used in everyday life, a few turned out to be special. The San Francisco issues had the lowest mintage, making them more collectible even in average condition. What makes this coin truly exciting are its errors and die varieties. The most famous is the 1936 double die obverse, where the date and the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" appear doubled. This happened when the die struck the coin twice out of alignment, a minting mistake that now fascinates collectors. Other rare types include off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and even grease-filled dies that cause missing letters or weak details. These unique flaws can multiply a penny's value many times over. Now, condition plays a huge role. Coins that retain their original red color and luster are worth more than dark brown examples. Grading terms like MS, mint state, describe uncirculated coins with no wear, and every grade point can mean a big jump in value. So, what's this 1936 wheat penny really worth? A regular circulated one from Philadelphia might bring just a few cents to $1. Uncirculated examples can sell for $5 to $15 depending on condition and shine. A 1936 S in brilliant red mint state condition might fetch $50 to $100 or more. But the real stars are the double die obverse errors. These have sold in major auctions for several hundred to a few $1,000s, depending on grade and appeal. Even though millions were made, every 1936 penny tells a story of American resilience during the Depression years. Holding one is like touching a piece of living history. Whether you're a new collector or a seasoned numismatist, always check your change carefully. You never know when a rare wheat penny might appear right in your hand. So next time you spot that familiar Lincoln face and those wheat stalks on the back, take a closer look. That tiny 1-cent coin could be your next big find. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, keep collecting, and may your next discovery shine bright like copper gold.